Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. This is part one of the mentor talk. Today I'm here with Ray from Grumpy's. He is my mentor for not only blackfish jigging, for like a ton of saltwater fishing tactics that I do, like pitching up currents, blackfishing, and today he's going to be talking about jigging for blackfish. Ray has caught some absolute slobs on the jig.
Yes.
Before the jig or even blackfishing was publicly known, Ray is an absolute pro with jig fishing. And basically, Ray, what is your go-to setup? You have it here.
So I start with the rod. So I love something 7 foot, something rated up to about 2 ounces. This particular setup is a 7 foot. I teamed it up with a 3,000 size reel. 20-pound braid. Braid is probably the most important thing when it comes to jigging, because if you have too heavy of a braid, it's going to be tough to get that lighter jig to the bottom. So something up to 2 ounces, 7 foot, 3,000 series reel. Some guys will do 4,000 series, and I do 20-pound braid.
Okay, so how heavy of a jig do you go? What's like your limit on ounces for a jig?
So there's tons of different styles of jigs out there right now. A lot of the jigs that you'll see in tackle shops are going to be in that 1 ounce to 2 ounce range. I don't go anything bigger than 2 ounces when it comes to jigs. I think that kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing. I always start off with a 1 ounce jig, depending on the conditions. If it starts scoping out, then I'll go to something a little bit heavier, but I always start with a 1 ounce jig.
So another little debate within the blackfishing world is the type of bait that you choose. There's white leggers, there's green crabs, there's hermits, there's spiders, there's even some shrimp.
Yep.
Secret shrimp, if you don't know.
Yep.
So what, with like a crab for like a jig, like with a rig you can do a ton of different, you can do 2 halves or whatever. How do you bait a jig?
So I have like a mental checklist in my head when I go blackfishing. I always start with the whole crab. I'm always looking for that big fish when you first get set up. So I'll start with a whole crab, crush it up, step on it a little bit, see what happens. And the biggest thing with blackfish that I can recommend to everyone is watch around you too. Don't be afraid to watch other people that are on the boat, because they might be doing something different and getting a bite. So I always start with a whole crab, I step on it, see what happens. If it starts, you don't feel anything, no scratches, no bites, then I go to a half a crab. Step on it. Stepping on it is probably the most important thing. It just mushes it up a little bit, especially this time of the year in January. The cod get a little bit lethargic. They want a softer bait. So whole crab, then to a half a crab.
Mugging is also another excellent thing to do. You can't beat gracing someone's presence on the other side of the boat and just giving them a nice hi, hello, and then setting the hook on the fish that they've been finessing for the past couple minutes.
There's nothing better than stealing someone's other fish. Someone's fish. It's very satisfying.
Gentlemen's blackfishing, that's for sure.
Yes.
So now we're gonna go over how to feel a bite with a jig.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like misinformation on the web about blackfishing. About you gotta set the hook before you feel the bite. That's not true. The thing is, when you drop a jig down to the bottom, right out of the gate, you're probably going to feel some scratches. Typically, that's for gulls, but that's okay because they're kind of setting it up for the blackfish. Then you'll feel a thump. That's what you want. You don't want to set up on the scratches. There's days where blackfish will be a little bit, like I said, finicky, and you'll feel them scratch it. But most of the time, those little pecks are for gulls in the beginning, and then you'll get the thump. That is what you want to set up on, the thump. And when you set up on a blackfish, I would say you have probably like a 6 to a 10 foot buffer zone. I call it a buffer zone. When you set up on a blackfish and you keep your rod tip high, you never want to lower it. Keep it up high, reel to the fish. That is your best bet to land a big fish, not lower your rod tip. I use full drag. A lot of guys don't agree with that. I use full drag. I want to turn that fish really, really quick. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to landing these bigger fish on light tackle. Because I tell you what, 10 years ago, I would have laughed at you fishing a 7 foot spinning rod for blackfish. It just wasn't, we just didn't do that. So it was heavy conventional rods, 60-pound mono, 60-pound leader. And yeah, I mean, this is just completely different. And I personally was the one that laughed about fishing for blackfish with jigs. When I see people on the boat, I'm like, what the heck? It's changed the way we blackfish. It's more fun. you get more bites. It's just the truth. You get more bites. Landing the bigger fish, I probably go with a conventional rod, but it's just way more fun targeting blackfish with a spinning rod.
All this talk of blackfish has me so excited. I wish the weather wasn't so crummy so we can actually go out blackfishing.
Yeah.
But stay tuned for not next week's open boat, the week after, for the part 2 of the Mentor Blackfishing series, where we talk about rig fishing. So thank you, Ray, again.
Anytime.
My mentor.
Anytime.
I'm definitely stopping in Grumpy's Tackle in Seaside Park, New Jersey to stock up on some blackfishing jigs. They also have leader and some awesome in-store and custom rods for blackfish jigging and rigging. So stop in and stock up.
We'll see you on the water.
Yes.